Well, we're heading out right now and I want to do some edge feathering. And I hate the term edge feathering. I like it, pretty good term, but that term is so overused and I think it makes it deceiving. For example, I've seen edge feathering project that certain states will promote, and it's just cutting a bunch of timber down or hinge cuts next to a food plot next to the hardwoods. Well, when you go from food plot to timber cuttings to hardwoods, to me that's not, quote, feathering. Feathering to me entitles something, really refers something softer, something more gradual. And what I mean by that is we're going out, and I love these layers. You can see the switchgrass behind me as we drive against woods and areas we have briars, we have rabbit huts and hardwood regeneration, bedding areas on the inside. So to me, feathering is more of the more layers you have in the edge of the habitat, then the more wildlife you promote. And it's not just wildlife. Whitetails are creatures of edge. And so anytime you have a break in habitat, doesn't matter if it's on public land, private land, then whitetails will gravitate to those areas. So we're going out right now and it is freezing cold. It's -3 right now here Fahrenheit. It is really cold, and so we have the kids with us. That means that they're in the back of the truck, and I have an area out here that I want to create more feathering because we're trying to fill this area in. It's a steep area. It's an area they used to farm, that they used to pasture after that, and they don't farm anymore. They haven't for, I would guess, 20 years, somewhere around there, maybe 16 years. But bottom line is it's pretty elevated and steep, and so we're going to go into this area and cut, and when we do that, I want to cut gradual, so we're hinge cuts, wood cutting, that's going into field edge, early successional growth, switchgrass on the sides, tree planting, shrub pockets, and we'll give it that gradual effect. So we're going to go do that right now. We're bringing you along for that, and can't wait to show you how that fits in with our parcel here and what we're trying to accomplish whitetail and wildlife wise. Now it's -15 right now, and we didn't cut much last night. It was pretty cold. I wanted to talk about how all this relates. You know, we're doing this cutting, creating this feathered edge. We'll explain that. But the whitetail strategy, it's really critical. This corner right here is where we're stopping this layered feathered edge. Now this feathered edge, when you have timber cutting down here, we have switchgrass pockets, we have diversity pockets behind me. These diversity pockets are made to hold deer in the area. Red osier dogwood diversity pockets. Dappled willow's another one. They're both highly browsable. We have hybrid poplar down there. Deer love browsing on them. You don't need a lot of that in there, but we need about 3 years, we found, on these cages to protect them because they're very attractive, and the deer will come in here, nibble them down to nothing, and then they don't grow. So at least letting them get established first will allow them to have a chance. But we're trying to make this very high quality. Switchgrass line for blocking, cuttings on the bottom, hinge cuts so that browse comes out into this field area. We have gray dogwood pockets already growing naturally, early successional growth, briars, various trees and shrubs coming in here, even some scattered red cedar that are growing in here and helping to fill the space. However, past this corner, we don't want that to take place. We have a little hump down here. There's a really nice bench system. That bench system serves to house deer. The problem is when we have these cuttings right here on the outside, or when we have these trees, there's one major problem with that, is that on this field edge, all those branches grow outward towards the sun and they go all the way to the ground. That keeps sunlight from going back into the woods and creating more browse inside the woods and under the canopy of the woods. You could expect, especially with this elevation change, when the sunlight's coming over here in the afternoon and midday, full sun coming in here, that sun can shoot down 30, 40 yards into the woods, create a really good browse line, and complement those bench areas and that point where deer like to bed. It gives them a lot of food, a lot of cover, so that's part of it. We don't want to do that over there not only fill this and make this high quality, a true feathered edge where you have cuttings, hinge cuttings, switchgrass, briars, gray dogwood, shrub pockets, switchgrass over here, you have a true feathered edge with multiple layers going up and down. We don't want that taking place over here. We have switchgrass edging, but we have no cuttings, no diversity pockets, no shrubs growing, no red cedar, nothing over there, no dogwood certainly, because that's an access point for us that goes down through very mature timber down in this hollow to access stand locations and blind locations down the bottom. We want that to remain almost a corridor for us to get down, back and forth on the edge of our property without spooking deer. The more we improve these types of areas, it might seem like, well, this is a little micro spot. It's only 100 yards long we're doing this to. And actually is several hundred yards long because it complements everything else we're doing this way. But it might seem like a small area, but it's really critical because the more we improve this, the more layers we add here, not just cuttings and field grass or food plot or ag field. We want these layered staggers where we have long lines of switchgrass, harder regeneration, shrub growth, quality shrub pockets, briars. We want all this layered approach through here because the more we improve the quality in this area where we want deer to be, the more in a deer's world, that area over there remains lower and lower and ever lower in quality as this improves right here. That continues to make our access that we already have great access with better and better. Even have our best hardwood on the property is down here between maple and oak. And the neighbor wanted to know if we wanted to cut, joint cut, because he doesn't have a lot, we don't have a lot together, we might have enough to get a logger in here. We absolutely do not, because we don't want to cut that great timber down there. For one, it's good turkey roosting, it's a great turkey area, we love that about this spot. Taking a nice tom over in this corner, it's one of our favorite spots to hunt. But outside of that even, if we cut that through there, now we're placing deer down the bottom away from this area. We spread the deer out, it makes it more random, and then we can't access those stands below without an ever increasing potential as that regenerates down there of spooking deer. So it's not all about improving every square inch of your property. It's improving every square inch that relates to deer movement that you want to maintain. For example, we have big ag over here, we have a neighbor's parcel on the other side. I want deer to go back and forth through here. I don't want them over there on our access. Hope that makes sense. Now again, right here, we're gonna face cut some of these larger trees, but I don't want a bunch of junk out into this field edge right here, just littering the area. Now if you have a marsh, for example, I like the idea of pulling dead trees out into a marsh because then that marsh grass can grow up in those dead trees and those tops, and that grass will remain and give you some cover even into November and December where there's nothing else there. That grass will actually stay up. You might even have red osier dogwood or something deer would normally browse down to the ground growing up in that tree where deer can't reach it. That's a good thing. But out here where we already have a field full of diversity pockets, gray dogwood, briars, and a lot of good stuff growing in that early successional growth combination, then I don't want to add big trees in here that restrict deer movement back and forth. It's just a small, tight area. If it was a lot bigger, it'd be different. So I'm focusing on a few large trees that are blocking canopy, but I have a lot of small to medium-sized trees up to 6-7 inches in diameter that we will actually hinge, which we shouldn't be doing when it's minus 15 out. You gotta wait for the daytime highs to be in the 30s and 40s for several days to get that sap flowing so they're not brittle and breaking over. But we'll hinge a lot in here. I don't hinge a lot. On various client properties, we might recommend it 15% of the time. On my own property, I might cut out of all cuts in that same range, 15-20%. But it's very useful in something like this because we take those smaller trees that don't come out into the field very far. Maybe you have field edges like this. I'm hoping you do. We can hinge cut those. We have box elder down there, cherry, oak. Cherry, we definitely need to wait for that sap to grow, be flowing. It's more brittle. But we can hinge cut that out here. It gives the deer more browse out into this field, gives them more cover. And again, a lot of those smaller trees with those branches going out to the side, you can see some of these, we have some giant oaks back here. They're not the ones actually with branches down to the ground. It's a lot of these smaller trees, the box elders, some of the smaller oaks that are flanked by mature oaks that we want to actually produce mass. So we can hinge cut those, get rid of those horizontal branches going down to the ground, let sunlight spill in different pockets. We can make this entire transition for deer going back and forth. And then, oh, by the way, it complements a really nice long skinny hunting plot right over there they've been working on the last couple of years. So that's the idea of edge feathering. It's about the edge feathering, making that nice smooth transition of grasses to briars to shrubs to trees, maybe some hinge cuts or not total cuts, browse inside the woods because sunlight's getting in. But at the same time, it's always complementing something that we're doing whitetail strategy wise for, especially when it comes to hunting, our access, complementing food sources, food plots and movements, placing deer where we want them, where we can depend on them so we're not spooking them when we're coming in and out of the property. So it's another big picture. Hope it makes sense to you, and I hope it's something you can apply to your habitat hunt for this season. Everyone, thanks for watching to the end of the video. I really want you to check out whitetailhabitatsolutions.com, Pure Wildlife Blends. There's so much we have to offer you. You know, if you never buy anything from us or hire us to come to your land, that's okay. We're still going to be putting out all this free content to try to help you out. I want to put a smile on your face. I want you to have a great hunt. But from our food plot seed blends to books, to web classes, to hiring us, we have lots of stuff to offer on whitetailhabitatsolutions.com and Pure Wildlife Blends. Make sure you check it out. The links are in the description.